performance domain, which is called project resource management, right? It's also a very important part of the of the whole of everything that we're going to be doing, right? So we're going to talk about the resource management in terms of how you manage both physical and for human resource. Majorly, we're going to deal with human resources, but resource management is what we're going to be talking about. At the end of the day, we'll see how to plan resource, estimate activity resources, acquire resources, develop team, manage teams, and then control your resources. And generally, at the end of the day, you should understand what resource management plan looks like, how to estimate on project in terms of resource, understanding procedures for acquiring a project team, understand the need for development of project team members, manage team members, and control resources. I'm going to come here, but before I start, I want to define some key terms. Um, I just thought about it as I went on break to find out how Man City won Chelsea, right? So um I'm just going to define some terms for you so that you can guide us. These are some key knowledge areas that you need to know when you try to when you're dealing with resource management. Um there are key concepts. So one key concept is the project manager. So the project manager is more like the leader of the project team, right? So he's responsible for the team formation and operations within the group, right? So they majorly invest most of their time trying to see how to, manage the group, acquiring some project team members, motivating the team, empowering the team, you know, and understanding the different aspects of the project. They manage stakeholders, and all that. That's the project manager. Now we have a resource manager, right? When we talk about resource manager, we're talking about um, somebody that a manager is somebody or an individual with the management authority over one or two resources, right? There might be some people call it human resource manager, some people call it resource manager, some people call it recruitment manager, some people call it human capital, some people call it has evolved over the years. But basically, the person that has some people call them business partners, right? That's another word. But basically, an individual that has control over one or more resources, right, within the team. Then we also have human resources, right? Human resources are basically the project team members, the individuals that are assigned with different roles, and responsibilities within the project team, right? Could even be outside, but basically, you guys are working together to achieve the goal of the project. That's the human resources. So in this place, we are talking about to form the team, bringing them together, different people with their different expertise coming together to, you know, achieve a central goal, right? So that's another key thing that you might need to know. And we have resources in terms of physical, material, virtual resources. When we talk about physical resources, majorly things that we can. These resources that are not, these are resources that are not necessarily human, right? So you're talking about laptops, software, license, copyright, and all those other things that are necessary. They are actually resources, but they're not necessarily human. They actually have key things or key resources you need to facilitate or to do that project, to do it effectively. Okay. So having said that, I just wanted to give a foundation of some of these key terminologies, before um we continue. So, like I said, we're going to look at how to plan for your resource management. So let's go into the first one, project resource management. So basically, it talks about the processes to identify, because that's important. How do you identify resources? How do you acquire resources? And how do you manage them? So basically, you're trying to identify, acquire, and manage resources needed for the successful completion of the project, right? It ensures that the process helps ensure that the right resource will be available to the project manager and the project team at the right time and at the right place, right? So this is what we are trying to do. The project manager, the people that they need, the team, the right resources are available at every point in time. So we broke it down into, of course, the different areas where you see it in the process group. Just like I said, plan, estimate, acquire, develop, manage, and control. Now, if you look at the the new the new document, I you will see that it has plan, it has estimate, it has acquire, but then it changed the develop to lead. So it combined the develop and the manage to lead the team, basically, which is almost similar. The reason why I didn't put that is because, I mean, if I treat develop and manage, you understand the lead generally. So there's the lead, they called it lead the team, and then the last one, which is monitor and control the resources, which is virtually the same thing, right? So these are the key areas we are going to look at as we go. So during planning your resource, of course, is planning, estimating is planning, then when you acquire resource is when you want to start doing the project, right? You get people that you need for the project, and then of course you develop the team during your execution. So and then you manage the team, and then during your control resources is when you in your monitor and control, you then control the resources. Um, I'm going to talk about a lot of things that deal with team management, resource management, as the case may be. Um, so you have the people domain and we have the process domain. Um, it's pretty much a way to plan your resource, right? For people, you're looking at how to manage conflict within the team, how to lead the team, how to support team performance, how to empower team members and stakeholders, how to ensure um, that team members and stakeholders are adequately trained, how to build a team, how to address and remove impediments, obstacles, which is one of the things that you're supposed to do majorly, how to monitor relevant stakeholders, how to promote team performance through the application of emotional intelligence. And therefore, process, plan and manage budget and resources and manage project issues. So let's go deep into each of them, right? I said the first one is plan and then estimate and then acquire and then develop and then manage and then um and control. So let's start on the first one, planning. You're basically defining how to estimate, acquire, manage, and use team and physical resources. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to know the process, right? To plan it, basically. That is what you're trying to do. The plan, you need a project charter to tell you the kind of project and who you're going to need, the project management plan, documents, enterprise, and organization, right? For the tools, expert judgments, of course, meetings, of course, data representation, organizations, theory, and all that. And then at the end of the day, you have your resource management plan, your team charter, project documents, and the likes. Now, there's the chart that is called in planning your resource. So there's what is called RACI or RACI, or depending or RACI if you don't want to call it a word, right? It's a tool that's or it's something that you can use. A tool basically that helps you to plan your resources. So you have Anne, Ben, Carlos, Dina, and Ed as members of your team, right? So you have Anne, Ben, Carlos, Dina, Ed, the members of your team. And maybe you're supposed to, you have some activities that you need to do, right? You're planning your resource right now to create the project charter, to collect requirements, to submit change requests, and to develop test plan. Now, if you see the project manager in this case, in this chart, you can see that and so RACI means responsible, accountable, consult, and inform. That's the meaning of RACI. So that's why I was saying that if you want to, if you want to call it RACI, it's just an abbreviation for um responsibility, responsible, who is responsible. Responsible means who is the doer, right? The person in the team who actually completes the task or does the work. That's the meaning of responsible. Now, accountable means who is the owner. You might want to write this down because I don't think I have it here. I'm just speaking from, accountable talks about who is the owner. So the person that at the end of the day approves the work or signs off the deliverable, right? Is somebody. So usually it is one person that should be accountable for a specific task. Is usually that's the rule of thumb. But basically, the accountability talks about who is the owner. Responsibility talks about who is the actual person doing it. Then consult, basically the person you reach out to, right, or the experts. Basically, that is what consult talks about. Those people that you need their opinion or advice, before you complete the task. And then the last one is informed. So who just need to keep up to date to whatever is happening. They need to know the progress, tax completion, and all that. So that's the that's the meaning of RAC. Now, in this chart on my screen, you can see that to create the charter, Anne is accountable, Ben is the actual person doing the job. We're going to be need to inform Carlos and Dan, Dinah, keep them informed, and then Ed as well. In terms of collecting requirements, you just need to keep Anne informed, and then Ben is accountable for it, but Carlos is the one actually collecting the resource, and then they are to consult Dina and Ed while they are, going through that process. To submit a change request, you keep Anne informed as well, and you know Ben is still accountable, and Carlos is still responsible, but this time he's doing the job alongside Dina, so both of them are responsible, and they are consulting Ed to get it done. To develop test plan, Anne is accountable, Ben is to be consulted, Carlos is to and Dina is to be kept informed, and Ed is the one actually doing the job. So this is a research chart, a simple research chart that can help you know how to plan your resources as you go. Okay, please go ahead, Alex.
So in this website chart, can we say that is it that Anne has more authority than Ben? I just want to understand how, because creating the charter accountable, Ben is responsible. I just want to, what can you deduce from this receipt chart? Or is it just the way they wanted to share the resource?
Okay, so um I mean, you can deduce a lot of things from this chart. However, it's just basically how they decide to share the resource. It doesn't necessarily tell who has more power or who has less. I'm going to talk about how to do that in when we get to talk about stakeholders, right? But this is just basically sharing work, right? You have team members, five of them, and you have checked their competencies and you're sharing the work, So it doesn't really tell who has more authority or less authority from. You can't tell directly from this. You can say who has more responsibility, but you might not be able to say who has more in terms of influence or power through this. I don't know if I've answered your question, Alex.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay. This is also um another tools to plan your resource, right? So you have the project. With the project, you'll be able to know who or what departments are going to be or members. Where do we get resources from in terms of, so we have marketing department, we need IT people, and it could be other departments as well, right? And then for the marketing people, what do they need to do? They need to give us customer needs survey. They need to give us initial customer now. They need to handle initial customer announcement. And then in the IT department, in their work breakdown, they're supposed to provide cloud transition plan, data security design, visibility test plan, and all that. So this is also another way to break down resources even in an organization, right? So key components of that resource management plan, right? It's key things you need to see. You need to see identification of resources, basically how you get resources, acquiring resources, roles and responsibilities, project organization chart, project team resource management, training, team development, resource control, recognition plan, and and so on. We'll talk about some of these things as we go, but these are some of the key things you would need to have in your plan. Now let's go to the second one, which is estimation. So we've planned it. How do you estimate activity? So estimate activity resource is the process of estimating team resource and the type and quality of materials, equipment, and supplies necessary to perform project work. So estimating team resources and the type and qualities of materials, equipment, and supplies necessary to perform project project work. Right. So again, it has its inputs, project, and outputs, right? But the tools here are majorly the tools that you use for your estimation, basically. So expert judgment, bottom up, analogous, parametric. That's why I tried to explain it the last time so that you can just see them. At the end of the day, you come out with your resource requirements, the basis for estimates, resource breakdown structure, and the rest. So this is how you can break down your um, estimate your activity resources. So you have the project, you need personnel, that's human, that's um, top left now on your screen. And then you have material resource, and then you have equipment that you're going to need. You can break down further the personnel you need. What are the roles? Row one, row two, row three, row four, you know. And then for the row one, do we need more resources under them? Maybe officers, as the case may be, on level one and level two, right? When we talk about material resource, we have material one, material two. They can further break them to grades as the case may be, and then same thing with equipment. So this helps you to estimate the activity, the resources that you need for the project. So this is a sample resource breakdown structure. Then after you have been able to, estimate the resource, the next thing is to be able to acquire them. So basically obtaining team members or facilities or equipment or materials or supplies or any other resource necessary to complete the work. So that's what acquiring means, which is the next stage, right? Of course, key tools, decision making. Why we get what are the decision criteria we're using? Interpersonal and team skills, negotiation, pre-assessment, virtual teams. Yeah, so this is basically where you acquire the resource. It can be different processes, different tools. Some of them is virtual, some of them is physical, some of them is different tools. Negotiation skills are important here because you talk about money and other stuff that will be necessary. Then at the output, you have fiscal resource assignment, project team assignment, resource calendar, project document updates, and all that, right? So talking about teams, right, and people that you are trying to bring in, we have different definition of teams, just basically for you to have an idea for those that may not, right? So we have dedicated teams, right? So most of them, this team has people that work full time and exclusively on the project. Right now, at some point when we're in the office, we had a dedicated team of people that build products for the bank, right? Even in the dedicated teams, there are dedicated people. So you know that in the larger enterprise, they have an engineering team with engineers doing different things for different businesses as they come. We had a dedicated team and say, okay, you guys are building the fintech part of this business. You have your engineering lead, you have your project manager, your lead project manager, you have your business people and operations and all that. So dedicated team, they're usually, you know, no, we have part-time people or part-time team members and project managers spend a little bit of their time, part of their time working on the projects, and they are also doing other things, right? So that's what we call a part-time team. Then we have partnership team. So you're doing a project with different organizations. So people will come from here, from there, and then you form a team. All right, that's a partnership team. Then we have virtual teams. Basically, different people or different members of a team that work in a place where they are not physically present. So they work virtually, basically. So most times, like I said, the world is evolving. That's why they probably even removed one of the these things then was that face to face, was a key, is very key. Well, it's still very key, but honestly, virtual teams are gaining a lot of ground. Most people have worked for most organizations that they've never ever seen anybody or known anybody, and they've been there for like 5, 3, 10 years, right? So yeah, but face to face communication, right, is always preferred. So, but of course, you cannot speak of teams now without talking about virtual teams. So that's what it is. Now, let's talk about developing. So you've planned, you've estimated, now you've acquired. Now you have the people in your team. So next step is to develop the team. So basically improving the competencies, team members interaction, and the overall team environment to enhance the performance, right? So they're now with you, you're trying to see how to develop them, right? And it is very, very key part of the process. Um the key tools here: co-location, virtual teams, communication technology, interpersonal team skills, recognitions and award, trainings, individual and team assessment, meetings. These are things that you can use in terms of developing um, your team, right? Then at the end of the day, you have team performance assessments to see how far your trainings or whatever you've put in place is going, change request, project management plan updates, and all the rest of them. So in terms of developing a team, there's some key principles that some professionals in our field, in different fields, have come up with that we've adopted over the years. One of them is Tuckman's team building development, right? I think this is pretty much one of the most talked about team building development framework. Generally, that's Tuckman, which he divided the stages into five. We have the forming stage, basically where team members meet each other and try to learn about what we're trying to achieve. They have their roles, they understand their responsibilities. At that point, you're just new, you're independent, you're not that open. Everybody just trying to know each other. That's the forming stage. Then the next stage is when we call the storming stage. Storming stage is where they start doing the work and decisions need to be made, and you start seeing different people and how they handle things in a different way, right? And in that stage it's very important that people are open to um different ideas and different perspectives, and they're able to collaborate. However, it is the point where you start seeing people with different ideas, and so that's why it's called storming. Things are not exactly the way you're thinking, and there might be some disparate opinions. But then it then takes you to the norming stage where you begin to work together, you begin to understand the habits and behaviors of other people. Okay, this is how Alex used to work, this is how Bookie used to work, this is how Grace works. I can manage her properly. I can if I reach her by 12, I will likely get her. You've started then Alex, if it's past 5, I can't reach Alex because he's in so country, and at that time they probably might be sleeping, or they don't have service at that time, something like that. So you have norming rules, and once people are able to understand yourself, you're able to adjust to each other's differences and support everybody. The next stage is the performing stage, which basically now talks about a stage where you have a team as a well organized unit, and then you keep hitting heights and getting things done and achieving. Then finally, you have the adjourning stage where you have finished the work, and then you're moving to other projects and other deliverables. So, Talkman, right, is one of the key guys in terms of tools. Another tool is that you can use, right, in your development stage. Remember, we are still on development. Is motivational theories, which to motivate people, talk about recognitions and awards. Um, it's a very important part when you want to motivate your team. So recognitions and award help to keep your team motivated at every point in time, right? Especially people that are doing well in your organization. So you're rewarding good behavior, right? So it is only desirable behaviors that should be rewarded. Why? Because it helps to increase morale. And another way you can do it is to give awards. I remember in my former organization, when I joined, I was working with HR, and the guy was like, "We're going to be giving award in our town hall because they usually have town halls, right? So as part of the routines, I think the town hall happens is it quarterly. They give awards, right? The award is just usually like I designed the award, right? I designed the award, I printed it, I did everything because that was my it's one of the business I used to do at that time. So when I came to the organization, I used to assist with those things. But then when they present those awards, you will just see how motivated the people become, right? Post on their LinkedIn page, company gave me an award today. The award is basically for core values of the organization. Are you customers? The most customer centric staff, the most staff with the highest level of integrity, the just those core values at the time. But it helps to motivate people. Rewards could also be in terms of best, if it's a financial product, who brought more money, who manages the customer. Rewards basically help to motivate the team. And then in terms of rewards, how do you give rewards? Because sometimes you don't just give reward. You need to be very strategic, even as you try to give reward in your team development. And for you to understand how you reward people, you need to understand the hierarchy of needs, right? And that's why this is here. Um, there's a guy called Maslow. I don't think he's still alive, but he came up with the hierarchy of needs, which is also a widely accepted um, pyramid that defines the needs of people. The first need is psychological, for air, for water, for food, for housing, for clothing. This is the first level of need, right? And as people grow and get past, they have air, they have water, they have food, they have clothing, they then move to security. Be sure that they live in a, I mean, people that don't have money, they can't stay under the bridge, they don't probably care, just need to get their hands cool. But then as people grow and start getting money, the next need will be security. Let me protect my house, protect my car, protect my family, stability as well, freedom from harm. Key things in the next level of the pyramid. Then as they be able to get that, they now start looking for love, for affection, for friends, for association. They want to be chairman of Lagos Country Club, Ikoyi Club. They want to, interact with more people, you know, just be out there, attend, speak in conferences, social, right? And the next one is esteem, which talks about accomplishment, respect, attention, and appreciation, right? That's the next level of needs that people will start looking forward to. That attention, that's respect, that appreciation. And then the last one is self fulfillment, growth, and learning, which talks about self actualization, where you are trying to get fulfilled and what drives you in life. Now, how does this help you when you're developing your team? You need to know where your team members are. Now, there are some people that you reward with money that that is not a good enough reward, especially people that are on the social and esteem level, right? Those kinds of people, maybe you can reward them by maybe announcing them in a newspaper, writing a, a recommendation for them, or you know, rewarding the reward now is not necessarily money because money is not like the need, but something that brings attention to them, something that shows respect, something that shows accomplishment. However, there are some other people that you will give maybe an award to a plaque or something, and then they're like, "Can you just convert this into money for me?" Right? If money would be a better motivation for them. I mean, if I do better next time, they will come and give me another plaque. Got to worry about doing a plaque. But if I do better next time, they give me another 20,000. That is more valuable to them than any award or any recognition that you want to give to them. So you need to understand where people or your members of your team are in the pyramid so that you can know how to reward them, that the reward will be meaningful. I don't know whether you get. So that's the whole idea of this. There are some other theories when it comes to motivation. This is just for your information. We have the Hensberg theory that talks about hygiene agents, um, We have the McGregor's theory, X and Y and Z. It's just a theory that says that for the X people, there are people that need to be watched at all time. You have to micromanage them in your team. You know, you have to assume that you can't trust them. You have to they avoid work. They're not responsible. You know, and then you have the Y theory, Y that says leave people to do whatever they like. You know, let them. People are naturally selfless. People are motivated naturally and they can accomplish their tasks proactively. You don't need to do anything. They will know that they're supposed to do this. But then we then have the theory Z, which tries to, balance both the X and the Y. There's also okay, go ahead, Alex.
Okay, can you, I don't know whether you have clarity on this Herzberg principle theory. Do you have clarity on it? Herzberg, yeah, it's even here.
Okay,
I
I'm
just
going to
want
read.
to because maybe I can add something to it.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Speak on it.
Okay,
Shoot.
because the first time I was, of course, I had background in engineering, but the first time I enjoyed something outside engineering was a broad course on management. And one of my most impressive part of that course was motivational theories. So I'm trying to understand what really drives people in whether organization in the family or what. So this Hesberg, the way it was captured here, it still portrays. I think it's trying to talk about two factors. It's a two-factor theory: the hygiene and the motivators. So, for example, maybe you're in an organization that offers staff boss. That staff boss is not a motivation for people to work hard. But if you remove the staff boss, people will be demotivated. So it's a hygiene factor. But motivators are actually what triggers people to work hard. You may say maybe working from home, maybe but in some organizations, when people work from home, it's not like they work better. Maybe the time they spend in traffic is less, but maybe the output may be nearly the same with coming to the office. But they will tell you that they spend more money on data and all those. The money they save in transport, they spend on data and eating more because they're at home. Hunger, so those can be hygiene factors. So it's trying that theory is trying to emphasize on the need to separate what actually motivates than what is just there that may not necessarily motivate. But when you remove it, if it is there already, but and you decide to remove it, it will not demotivate. So that is what the Herzberg hygiene and motivators, this two-factor theory talks about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. I think you captured it fully. Um, when the Hensberg theory, just like you said, talks about two things: hygiene factors and the motivators. The hygiene factors are basically things that they're usually called dissatisfiers. They're not necessarily if they're not there, you will you will feel bad, but it doesn't necessarily motivate you. Right? Um, some of the then we now have the motivators, right, which are actual things that can really motivate you. Example, achievement, completion, responsibilities. Some people that are motivated by giving them more, responsibilities as they proceed with their work. So the key thing is that um, Hesberg is trying to say that to motivate people, don't only do things that will prevent dissatisfaction. Also actively create satisfaction. So you're thinking of not just hygiene factors, but you're thinking of things that you can create so that people stay motivated. While these other things like the staff work that you mentioned, all those things are important. You also want to create things like rewards, recognition, achievement, those things that can also, which are the motivators to boost the morale of the people that you work with. Okay, thank you so much, Alex, um, um, for that explanation. Okay, we also have other theory, right? We have the expectancy theory that talks about, that speaks on people behave based on what they expect as a result of their behavior. So let me speak a little bit on these theories. I usually just try to run through them. This theory was developed by someone that was called, I think it's John Victor, right? And it basically talks about people behave based on what they expect. If I expect that I'm going to get a reward for doing this, will put in my best. If I expect that if I behave like nothing will happen, I will do it and I will think I'm getting away with it, right? So it's more of saying that effort will drive performance, and then performance will give me reward, and then the reward will then give me value. Right? So basically, talking about people behaving based on what they expect as a result of their behavior, right? Then we also have forms of power, which is more like just telling you about different forms of power that people will. We have the reward power. Reward power is a kind of power that um, you have if you have the power to give somebody, right? That's one form of power. So because you can give me a reward, I obey you, I listen to you because of that. We have expert power, which talks about me being knowledgeable in this field. I can speak more, I can take, do things because of my subject matter expert. Right? We have legitimate power, which talks about formal power, power that comes from maybe just physical power. We have reverent power that talks about respect you give to, let's say, your personality and all that. And then we have punishment power, which the police people have a power that because punish you, right, and shoot you. So because of that, just respect them, right? So these are some of the theories, or this is even clearly stated here. The expectancy theory of motivation, where that talks about effort. They believe that increased effort will lead to better performance. Then you go to performance, believe that a certain performance will grant me rewards, and then you go from performance to reward. Employee considers that the reward that they are being given is valuable. As you go. We also have McClelland's theory. McClelland identified three key motivators, right? That all each person needs, right? Anybody in this world needs any of these three, right? Just like Maslow, but his own is three, and one of them is usually more pronounced. So people will have different characteristics depending on their dominant factor. So we have achievements, which talks about drive to succeed. That's one thing that motivates. That's what motivates them. We have affiliation, desire to for interpersonal relationships. Some people just want to. I want to be seen in the league of this club, this that. Then power need to be able to influence other their behavior, to influence other people's behavior. That's another need, right? Now, depending on you can have more, one or even three of them, but one is usually more conspicuous. Some people that want to succeed because of their drive to succeed, you can see that it comes with power and maybe affiliation. Some people want power, they want to be presidents, they want to be governors, they want to be people that can control that people. And because of that, they have to build personal relations, personal relationships, sometimes to achieve some things to show that okay, I'm capable if I'm given this opportunity. And then some people, because of their drive for success, and they start achieving it, take them to power. And then they have to meet the underlying drive was basically to succeed. So he says these are three areas where you can play around with as well when you're trying to motivate people. Check what their strengths, what is their dominance, and then see how you can satisfy that area, and you can be able to increase their morale and help them work better. These are the things that we just talked about in terms of the hygiene. That's the um, hygiene factors and the motivator factors. So salaries, wages and other benefits, company policy, job security. These are good hygiene factors, right? And when these are in place, you see that yeah, there's general satisfaction. It prevents dissatisfaction. So this is what this does. However, despite the hygiene factors being there, you need to create motivator factors. Examples, status, recognition, responsibility, promotion, growth. You know, when these are in place, you see that people are highly motivated, highly satisfied, and then there's a strong um, commitment, right? Um, Fringe benefits as well. These are things that can also be a form of motivation. Daycare in the place, training, education, medical. One of the things I love about where I work is that you can do professional certification. It can help you. It's a good thing. Where I worked before, it wasn't available. So there are fringe benefits that can be around it. They have daycare as well. Your nursing mother, you can, drop your children, um, the daycare, and then go and do your work. Focus on your work, and then your child is being taken care of, and they can then come back and pick it up from there. They also have perks in terms of privileges, um, increase in salary, cars, company car. Yeah, that's one perk that my previous company had. They give cars to people that are not even. They give cars to virtually almost every person that is in sales and all that. So you have a car that is very beautiful. You can use it, which is a perk, right? Hotel stays and stuff like that. Um, then in terms of your team development, you also need to learn how to delegate. You don't take everything by yourself, but basically you're just trying to assign responsibility or authority to another person to carry out some activities. You are not running away from the problem or from the responsibility. You are just assigning. You're still going to try to see how to oversee at some point. But delegation helps somebody to take responsibility or be accountable, and then also empowers the person that you're delegating the work to, as you go. So a key important steps in delegation, even as you try to manage or develop your resource, introduce the tasks to the person. That's how you take it. Don't just say take and go and do. No, introduce the tasks to the person. That's the ideals of this is a key acronym for this. So introduce the task and then demonstrate clearly what needs to be done. What do you want the person to do? Demonstrate it. Then ask questions. Ensure that the person understands what you have said, right? 100%. And then give the person authority, give the person information, give the person all the resources that the person needs to be able to carry out that work. And then let go. That's where most delegation is. You give somebody work to do, and then every time you're micromanaging the person, at some point you have to let it go and then support and monitor as you go. The next thing is we develop the team, managing the team, basically tracking right, team members' performance, providing feedback, resolving issues, and managing team changes to optimize your project performance. So that's the next stage after development. To manage them. Um, Managing team talks about conflict management, leadership, project management, information system, and all that. Um, in terms of conflict, right? You're trying to manage now. The conflict may arise because of your team. Keep on executing, and there are 5 layers or five levels of conflict according to Speed B's layers model, right? From when there is a problem to solve, then there is a disagreement. This person say no, this one says this is how we know, and before you know it, there's a contest. Contest is when people are now backing this person, and this group A, group B, and then before you know, there's a serious fight. Then you now get to a stage where you can't fix the issue again. The team will just scatter, right? So these are 5 levels of conflict, trying to tell you that you have to prevent it from happening. Once you see a problem to solve and there's a disagreement, you try to kill it before it turns to a contest. and then before it gets to a fight or a flight, then it's no longer solvable. So there are generally five techniques to resolving conflict. The first one is to withdraw and avoid um, retreating from the actual or potential conflict situation. That's withdraw or postponing the issue to be better prepared or resolved by others. So if something is happening, you move it forward, we'll talk about it later. That's one way, right? To handle it. Another one is smooth to accommodate, emphasizing areas of disagreement rather than areas of difference, right? So you're showing people this is where we agree, let's focus on this, right? And then we can move ahead. Then compromise, looking for a place where this person is not 100% satisfied, that person is not 100% satisfied, but there's a place where we can come to where we're not 100% satisfied, but we at least we have something, right? So more like a lose lose, but we have a way forward, basically. Then force, where one person is pushing their point of view on the other people, and that's just majorly a win-lose situation, right? That's force. Then we have collaboration, where everybody comes with a different viewpoint. We sit down, we talk about it, we analyze it. At the end of the day, we all agree that this is what we want to do, which basically leads to a win-win situation most of the times, right? Seven sources of conflict. Key things you need to know. Number one, schedules. Will tell you that view this in 3 days, unrealistic, right? Or there's no resource available. Schedules, project priorities. Um, I want. Sorry for smiling, but I've seen this a lot recently. So there's a one business team and their customers, right? They're coming to meet me. I'm product manager right now. So Emmanuel, want this bulk future. We need APIs to enable our customers move money at a time to different people. That's bulk. We want the one that will allow them sweep, and then we want mobile application, and then we want, you know, I mean, there's a lot of features that they want at the same time. Okay, they want notification and all that. Okay, we want to start building. I mean, that's my work, right? Serve my customers. However, I can't do all of them at the same time. So which one are we starting with? Right? And then say starts with bulk. No, we're starting with sweep. No, we're starting with notification. No, we're starting with card. And then that could be a point of conflict, prioritizing, right? Resources as well. We don't have enough people. That could be a source of conflict. Technical opinions. No, let's use Java. No, let's use Flutter, right? I was speaking with one of my guy at the top, right? And he said, I told him that we're building an application and we're using React Native to build the application. That's the stack we're using. Then we were like, no, Flutter is better. Flutter is what we are going to we use, you know. In my head, I'm like, okay, right? Because I've already started building this stuff. And aside even that as well, the developers that we have, they probably not ask them if they know how to use Flutter, but they are majorly experts in React Native. So that could be a source of conflict. Technical opinions, administrative procedures, cost, personality. These are things that can cause conflict, and we need to be able to manage it. Then the last one, which is control resources, is the process of ensuring that the physical resources assigned and allocated to the project are available as planned, as well as monitored and monitoring the planned versus the actual. Basically, you're just trying to control what have we planned, how are we managing it, are we utilizing them well to to ensure that everything goes as planned. You can reach through most of these. So basically alternative analysis, cost benefit, performance reviews, trend analysis. These are tools that you can use to control your resources, right? Um, so let's talk about these tools to control resources. We have data analysis. So you are doing alternative analysis, cost benefit analysis, performance reviews, trend analysis. So these are areas where you can use to control. So we have problem solving. These are the key areas how to solve a problem, right? In terms of your control, you see a problem. What's the first thing you do? You identify the problem. What exactly is this problem? Right? There might be a lot of noise. What is the problem? When you've seen the problem, you define the problem. Basically, break it into smaller, manageable problems. So the problem is that we want to build a mobile application. Okay, break it down into manageable problems. We need a product manager. We need we need the development team. We need you know money to get um, to host our services online and all that. Then you investigate, collect data. Where is this coming from? Is it coming from the money for this, money for that? Go down to analyzing it so you can find the root cause. When you have found the root cause, you solve the problem and then check the solution to be sure that you're good, you're good to go. And then interpersonal and team skills are important for to control your resources. You need to negotiate. Um, Last week, one of the front end developers was like, Manuel, I'm no longer comfortable with the salary that I'm being paid. I'm a senior on the front end engineer, and I've been with the company for a couple of months, and I think I need to get a raise and all that. These are good points where you need to negotiate and say, okay, bro, see, my company is not increasing salary now, but we really need you in this team. What can we do for you? Give him an award, give him something, negotiate, right? Influence too. Then you have a project management information system. So basically, this is everything. Um, this brings us to the end of resource